Ever get that feeling, that pull to build something that really means something, something that, lasts?
I think most people feel that urge, yeah, to move past the day-to-day and create something significant.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at the mindset, the principles behind starting something that genuinely matters.
And we're drawing a lot from the experiences of Blake Mycoskie, the founder of Thomas.
Right, him and some other folks who've managed to build ventures with real purpose.
We've looked at Mycoskie's own words about Thomas, but also broader ideas about stories, leadership, giving back, that sort of thing.
So the mission for this deep dive,
Basically, to pull out the key lessons, those sort of aha moments, that could help anyone looking to do something similar.
like a shortcut to the core ideas without getting totally bogged down.
Exactly. Insightful, but manageable.
Okay, so let's kick off with the Thomas origin story. Mycoskie's in Argentina.
Right, and he sees the children without shoes. And it wasn't just like a passing sadness, it sparked an actual idea.
A business idea, importantly. A for-profit way to tackle the problem.
Yeah, and that initial concept, it was something like shoes for better tomorrow.
Something like that. It morphed, didn't it, into tomorrow's shoes.
And then eventually just TIWMS. Simple, clean.
But it became way more than just shoes pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. It became a story, a really powerful narrative.
And they started small.
Very, like 250 pairs initially. But then they sold 10,000 pairs that first summer.
Wow, 10,000. Working out of his apartment, wasn't it?
That's right. And then came that first big shoe drop in Argentina, giving away 10,000 pairs.
That must have really cemented the story. The why.
Totally. It made the mission tangible.
Which loops back to this whole idea of storytelling we looked at. Kendall Haven and Ed Simmons.
Right. Their point is that facts and figures alone, they don't always stick.
It's the meaning, the narrative we build around them based on, what we already believe. That's what shapes decisions.
Yeah, stories just connect emotionally. They give us a framework to understand and remember things much better than just data points.
Like the subway example with Jared Fogle. That story had a huge impact.
Huge. And Mycoskie tells that story about the woman at JFK Airport.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't just buying to a mess.
No, she was actively telling the story to other people. Passionately.
That's the difference right there. Not just customers, but supporters, advocates.
Exactly. Supporters connect with the why. It's not just the product.
And that ties into conscious capitalism, connecting people to something bigger.
Yeah, a purpose beyond just the transaction, something that makes a difference.
Okay, but starting something like that initial spark, that big idea, usually comes with a side of, fear, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Fear is pretty much part of the deal. Success isn't really about not being scared.
It's more about facing it, figuring out how to handle it.
Precisely. Everyone hits roadblocks, makes mistakes. The real differentiator is how you react to that doubt, those setbacks.
So those failures, they can actually be useful.
Incredibly useful. Opportunities to learn, to adjust, to grow, if you let them be.
Makes sense. Don't avoid the stumbles, just learn how to get back up.
Right. And that actually connects to another point from Mycoskie's experience, this focus on simplicity.
Ah, yeah, his observation during the shoe drops, that the people with the least stuff
Often seem the happiest, the most joyful. It's a powerful observation.
The idea being that maybe more stuff doesn't equal more happiness. It can just mean more burdens.
Kind of. More things to manage, more distractions from actually enjoying life. He even suggests things like renting stuff when you can.
Renting to minimize the baggage.
Yeah, it keeps things simpler.
Yeah.
And he also talks about scheduling, how having structure can actually free up mental space.
That seems counterintuitive, but I can see it. Less deciding, more doing.
Something like that. Reduces decision fatigue.
And the simplicity thing, it pops up in lots of successful businesses, right?
Definitely. Think about Apple's design philosophy.
Or Google's homepage. So clean.
Exactly. Costco, simple model, great value, not overwhelming choice.
In-N-Out Burger. Tiny menu, but they nail what they do. Freshness, quality, service. Simple.
Simple core values. Even like the start of UGG's, just a basic sheepskin boot.
Or Craigslist. Talk about disruptive simplicity. Craig Newmark just put it out there.
Yeah, incredibly basic, incredibly effective, turned classifieds upside down.
Okay, so we've got the story. We're working through the fear, embracing simplicity.
Yeah.
What's next? It feels like trust is a big piece.
Huge piece. Trust and building a community.
Mycoskie had that quote, didn't he? A leader can create a company.
But a community creates a movement. Yeah, it highlights that connection.
And it links to how you treat people inside the company, too. Employee well-being.
Directly, happy, engaged employees usually lead to better results. And think about how trust is built with customers.
Like that famous Nordstrom story? The tire refund? Or was it the airline ticket?
I think I've heard both. But the point is, going way above and beyond, that builds serious trust.
Or brands with lifetime guarantees, like Toomey or Orvis. That signals trust in their own product.
Right. It creates loyalty. And this all feeds into different ideas about leadership.
Yeah, we saw a few contrasts. There was Chanakya focusing on keeping subjects happy.
Right. And then Robert Greenleaf's servant as leader's idea, empathy, listening, helping others grow.
Which is pretty different from, say, Frederick Taylor's old school scientific management.
Very different. Taylor's view was more like, workers need strict control. They're just motivated by money. Less trust involved there.
Then you have someone like Tony Chase.
At Zappos, yeah. He was all about building that culture of trust and empowerment.
Even after they got bought out, right?
Yeah.
First by Microsoft with Lake Exchange, then Zappos by Amazon.
There was a real commitment, apparently, to keeping that Zappos culture intact. Shows how valuable they thought it was.
Okay, let's shift to another core part of the Tom S. model, maybe the core part, giving back.
Right. The idea that integrating giving isn't just, a nice thing to do. It's actually good business strategy.
How so?
Well, when you build giving into the model, like the one-for-one thing, your customers often become your best marketers.
Yeah, they feel good about the purchase. They feel part of something.
Exactly. Their loyalty goes way up. They talk about it. They become advocates.
And partnering with existing charities can boost the impact too, right?
Definitely. Companies working with established nonprofits can often achieve much more together.
Is there a risk now in not doing something like this, just focusing purely on profit?
Increasingly, yes. Customers, employees, even partners, they're looking for more than just a transaction. A pure profit-only focus can feel, well, a bit empty. It can alienate people.
It feels like there's this basic human drive to contribute somehow.
I think so. And businesses are catching on. Remember the Pepsi Refresh project?
Vaguely. They used their Super Bowl money for something else.
Yeah, shifted their ad budget to fund community ideas submitted by the public. A big company trying a purpose-led campaign.
Interesting. And there's data on employees too, right? Preferring companies that give back.
Loads of it. Studies show majorities of employees prefer companies with charitable involvement. They care about social issues. They want their company to have a positive impact.
Though it must be tricky for huge companies to create giving programs that actually feel, authentic.
Yeah.
Not just PR.
That's the challenge. But some do it well, like Home Depot's partnership with Kaboom to build playgrounds.
Or Timberland giving employees paid time off to volunteer the Path of Service thing.
Right. Tangible commitments. Even things like Kiva.org, the micro-lending site.
Shows the power of lots of small contributions adding up.
Definitely. And then you have charity. Water, Scott Harrison's organization.
The transparency is incredible, isn't it? The 100% model.
Yeah, promising that 100% of public donations go directly to water projects. And they prove it with GPS, photos.
That builds immense trust. You know exactly where your money's going.
It really does. And their birthday campaign idea was genius, too, getting people to ask for donations instead of gifts. Very personal, very effective.
It's really inspiring stuff. Which brings us to just the general entrepreneurial spirit. It's amazing how many big things started small, often with almost no resources.
It's a constant theme, isn't it? Resourcefulness when you don't have resources.
Like the Life is Good guys, Bert and John Jacobs, selling T-shirts from a van.
Yep. Or Kenneth Cole starting out selling shoes from a truck.
Ben and Jerry's in an old gas station. Zuckerberg in a dorm room.
Steve Jobs in the garage, obviously. Ruth and Elliot Handler, Mattel, and Barbie started in their garage, too.
Wow. Even Levi Strauss. That was just about adding rivets to pants, right? Yeah. Simple idea, huge impact.
Jacob Davis's idea, Levi Strauss supplied the fabric. But yeah, simple innovation. Method cleaning products started in a kitchen lab.
Tito's Vodka.
I was like,
that guy apparently maxed out credit cards to get started.
Right. Incredible perseverance. Sam Walton, too. Walmart wasn't an overnight success. He faced early failures before figuring out the execution.
And so often, it starts by seeing a specific need.
Exactly. Like Charles Best with DonorsChoose.org helping teachers get supplies.
Or surgeons overseas, building surgical skills locally. Heifer International, tackling poverty with livestock.
And charity. Water, again, addressing that fundamental need for clean water.
It really shows that finding a problem and just starting, even small, can lead somewhere significant.
Yeah, there's no single path. It's often messy and unexpected.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it feels like all these threads connect, you know, purpose, impact, building something sustainable.
They really do. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about the story, the resilience, the community, the values.
And the source material left us with those really powerful questions to think about.
Ah, the great questions. Yeah, like if money wasn't an issue, what would you actually do?
What kind of work would you love? What cause gets you fired up?
They're simple questions, but they cut deep. They get to your core motivations.
Definitely good food for thought.
Yeah.
And we also touched on how important the team is and that servant leadership idea.
Crucial. You can't build a movement alone. Supporting your team is fundamental.
Okay, so to sum up the deep dive, we saw the power of story, the need to face fear, the beauty of keeping things simple.
The absolute necessity of trust and how giving back can be woven into the very fabric of a successful venture. Lots of great examples.
And these aren't just lessons for giant companies. They apply to anyone, anywhere, trying to make some kind of positive difference, right?
Absolutely. Big or small, the principles hold true if you want to build something that truly matters.
Which leads us to maybe one last thought for you, the listener, to take away.
Building on those great questions, what's one small thing, just one concrete step you could do today? Like, right now.
To nudge your actions a bit closer to something that really resonates with you, what new story could you start to build?